Hello. I know that this was a bit different for the start of one of my videos. Probably the most different video beginning that I have ever made. So recently my grandfather passed away, which you would have seen in the mausoleum that I made for both of my grandparents. My grandmother passed away 10 years ago, and my grandfather passed away just earlier in June. So I thought, what better way of remembering them than by building their house? One of their houses. This house they lived in, for 20, 30 years or so. And I remember them living there when I was very, very young. I will put a photo of that house up and compare it to this house here. And I had to, of course, scale it up to make it fit Minecraft, because if I would have made it actual size, it would have been kind of squished and condensed down. This house is no longer in existence. It got flooded in 2014 and had to be demolished. So I looked back at some old Google photos on Street View to see what it looked like, and did some of it from memory just because you can't see the back from Google. So I did this all from memory. They had a above ground pool, at least for a while. They eventually did get rid of this. I actually almost drowned in this pool when I was, I think, around 6 years old. I was walking back and forth along the ledge that was in the pool here, and I slipped down into the water here. And then my dad jumped in and pulled me out. So I had a little bit of a fear of water for quite some time after that. This is their house. I thought it would be a nice addition to our town area, and I think it fits in nicely here. So, and then over here in the cemetery area, I took the mausoleum that we had here and I rotated it over to here and made it fit, and added their name to it and put their names and birth dates and the days they passed away, and some green candles, which seemed quite fitting since their last name was Green. So, like I said, quite a different video for me, but we're going to head over to the city and I'm going to go do some building over there. So if you remember in my last video, I built this new skyscraper right here, and I had talked about wanting to build a park over here in this area, back in here in this corner behind these buildings. And so I think that's what I'm going to do, is I'm going to build a little park back in here with some type of path or road that leads up from the street here. Maybe we'll connect over here as well. And I was thinking this would be like a little entrance here down from this path. So that is what I'm going to work on next. I think I'm going to have to get rid of some of these animals. I don't think I want all of them in the park. So I'm going to clear this up a little bit. All right, this area has now all been cleared up. I got rid of all of the animals that were in here, leveled the whole area, and cleaned up the entrance here. So I'm thinking I'm going to start off with laying out the paths that are going to go through here. And I think I'm going to try using these mud bricks. These are brand new as of Minecraft 1.19, and I haven't used these anywhere. I think these will make a nice looking brick pathway that will go through the park. And I'm thinking it's going to come up here and kind of curve back and forth a little bit with some gardens and things on either side of it. Then we'll come up here and we'll split it off two ways. We'll go over this way and we will continue straight back this way, and then kind of bring it over here, and there's going to be steps that lead up this way, and then we will probably connect it back up here as well, with maybe like a little plaza area and some gardens over in this area. So I'm going to go ahead and try to get the roads, well, not really roads, the paths laid out in here first of all. All right, now with much fooling around with mud brick blocks, that's a tongue twister to say, I have a path in here that I'm pretty happy with. And if you notice, I'm standing down here. I have installed a mod, that's a free cam mod, that allows me to detach the camera from my character and be able to go and fly around. I think it'll make some things like this a little bit easier. So I wanted something, like I didn't want to just go straight back. I wanted something that was going to kind of curve back and forth a little bit, but I also wanted this entrance here centered between these two buildings so that I can put like some type of park entrance, gateway type of thing at the beginning with a name. This lamppost is going to have to move, so maybe I'll move it over here, or maybe I'll put lampposts on either side, but I will deal with that later. And so it just kind of curves back and forth until we come over to this area here, and we've got sort of an oval shape, and then it connects out this way over to this road. It connects up the steps here up to this pathway that was here previously, and then it's going to connect over here to the back of the building that I built in the last episode. So I think now what I'm going to do is start figuring out what goes into the park. Let me go back in my body here. So I think I'm going to start putting some plants in, maybe some trees and some benches and stuff like that. All the park stuff that you need in a park, maybe a little pond. Yeah, so I'm going to start working on that kind of stuff. All right, so I've done some work here, and you can see I have put a gate entrance area in here. I might still do a little bit of work on it, make it look a little bit nicer. It's going to need a name as well, so I'm going to put that on there. And if we go through here, you can see I've added some park lights and some benches. These are actually the same bench design that we have over in our amusement park. I thought they would be nice over here as well. But of course, the big thing I added was this frog pond here. And if we go up and over, because this is surrounded in barrier blocks, because frogs jump really high and I don't want them getting out. And the only way to surround this and make it look natural was to put barrier blocks, I don't know, like 15 blocks high, something like that. And all of these frogs have names. So let's take a look. Let's see, we got Hypnotoad from Futurama. We have Frogger from the game Frogger. Slippy from Star Fox. Mr. Hoppy Face, because that's funny. Kermit, obviously, Kermit the Frog. And King Harold from Shrek 2. So that's what I have built here so far. Got the lights out that way. And I think this looks pretty nice. I'm pretty happy with how this turned out. And now I just need to go around and do all of the grass areas around the path. So I'm going to put in some flowers and maybe some trees through here. Or I put this tree in over here. I wanted something that kind of looked like it was hanging down over the water a little bit, but I didn't want anything extremely big either. So I think this works. I think that looks pretty good as well. And I also set the biome in this area to be swamp so that the water would become a little bit more dull and pond looking. Whoops, a little lag there, and it bounced back up. And I really like these mangrove roots, because with the barrier blocks, the frogs were swimming underneath and getting stuck under there. And so I put these mangrove roots around the edge underneath the barrier blocks so the frogs don't get stuck under there. But I think that those are just like a really nice looking transition from water up onto the ground. So I think that that looks really nice. I really like how those turned out. And I've got some mud blocks mixed in there, which is also new from the 1.19 update. We haven't updated to 1.20, so I am still 1.19 is still kind of new to me because I haven't really played it all that much. So I'm pretty happy with how this turned out, and now I'm going to go ahead and start working on the rest of it. All right, I have completed the park, and you can see here out front, I did change the entrance a little bit. I actually widened it out to make it an odd number of blocks, and I needed it to be an odd number of blocks to fit the sign. So let me turn around here and let's take a closer look. I've named this Teddy Bear Park, and I will explain the reasoning for that in just a minute, but these were very, very difficult to make. These letters are assembled with these different shapes that are like special characters, and you can copy and paste them, but getting them all lined up right was not easy. But there we go, Teddy Bear Park, and we've got a little bear in here in the middle. And I changed out the arch from the deep slate to quartz to make it white instead of black, which I think looks better. And so let's go into the park here. I've built a bunch of little trees. I've done a lot of plants. I lined the paths with the flowering azaleas. In the back, we have some bushes that are made out of azalea, moss, and green powdered concrete. And then in the ground, there's also texture with the green concrete, powdered concrete, and the moss. Planted some sweet berry bushes, and I kind of wish that there was some way to keep them like this so that they wouldn't have the red berries. Like, I'd like some of them to have the red berries and some of them not, but they all always end up growing up to full maturity. The only way not to have it do that is if you put a solid block directly above it, and that would look kind of dumb. I tried putting barrier blocks above it. That didn't work. I tried blocks all the way up in the sky. That didn't work. It has to be the block right above it. So we're just going to leave them like this, and I think that kind of works as well. And I have these planting beds here, and those are all coral in there, but it looks like flowers. I also changed the lampposts up a little bit. The only change I really made was the anvils were previously the mud brick walls is what those were. So I switched those out. So we've got our benches and trash cans, and then we've got some bears. And this is a design I found on YouTube by Bowsy Wowsy, I think was the username. I'll put a link to the video in the description. So we've got welcome to Teddy Bear Park. And if we move down the pathway here, still more plantings and bushes and things. I kind of wanted it to feel like there was a barrier between the park and the surrounding buildings. And I think these large bushes were a good way to do that. Established July 2023 on this bear. And this one's a different color. This one's made out of dark oak. This one's made out of spruce. And we come down here to the pond. I also added some of the small drip leaf plants around in the pond. And you can see those in a couple locations here. And one more bear. This one is made out of the mangrove wood in loving memory of Grandma and Grandpa Green. And so now I'll tell you why it's Teddy Bear Park. That was their nickname for me when I was very little. When I was 1 year old, they gave me a teddy bear. I'll put the picture of it up on the screen because I still have it. This bear is 44 years old, and I've had it since I was 1. So now you know how old I am. And my username, JBear, comes from that nickname that they had given me. It comes from almost 45 years ago when they gave me that bear, and I took it with me everywhere, and they called me Teddy Bear. And so my username, JBear, comes from that. My first name starts with J, and so that's where my Minecraft username came from. So I thought that naming this Teddy Bear Park would be a nice name for it, and adding these bears. All right, so let's look at the rest. It's kind of more the same thing. We got another big flower bed area here with some more benches. And then over here, more plantings and a bench. And if we come out this way, kind of the same thing, lined with the azaleas, with the bushes in the back, the sweetberry bushes, and just a bunch of other plants and grass and ferns, things like that. And if we come over here, we still have the steps going up. And over here, it connects over into whatever I'm going to end up putting behind that building. And behind these bushes, I kind of just put some ferns and some grass just to kind of add some greenery behind it when you look through here, just to kind of make it look like there's an area back behind the bushes between them and the building that's just kind of overgrown a little bit. So that's it. That is the park. I am pretty happy with how this turned out. I think it's a nice addition to the city and uses this space here in between these buildings pretty well. And with that, that is all I have time for in this episode. I know that this one was a lot different than the normal episodes that I make, but I hope you liked it anyways. And if you did, please click the like button. And if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. I'll see you next time.